going to talk about the heroes among us. There are heroes among us. And they're not necessarily sports stars or musicians or people you've heard of. They're people who are doing the really great things, or people like Adriana. But you're going to hear more about in this new book, not only about her work and her life, but about others like Jim Greenbaum and Alan Weissman and his wife and Bruce Segaris, who I met with in Washington, D.C. Absolutely fantastic. And it goes beyond the headlines, beyond what they do. And this is how it affects. Just as a side note, I want to tell you a little quick story. I was giving a lecture on physics, of all things, and some technology that I was working on a few years ago in Austria, in Vienna. And the people who were there included the Archduke Ferdinand's grandson, and the Liechtensteins, the Luxembourgs, and this whole group, and me. Okay, my grandparents were peasants in Sicily, in which, by the way, we're always trying to figure out what laws to break. But I was invited to speak on this subject. And while I was there, I formed a special friendship with the ambassador, the Archduke Ferdinand's grandson, who was in his 70s at the time. And we spent a week there, and I was peppering him with questions about his grandparents and the assassination at the start of World War I in 1914. And at the end of the week, I asked him, I said, Mr. Ambassador, you've told me a lot about your grandparents and your grandfather, but could you tell me something about your father? And I just felt like I had neglected his father the whole week. And he said, of all the things he could have told me, he said, my father during World War II was a prisoner at the concentration camp at Dachau. I said to him, well, how long was he there? He said he was there until April 29th, 1945. It was Sunday morning. And I said, well, he said the American soldiers liberated the camp. I said, there were only about 200 American soldiers there that day. And he said, I'm well aware of that. I said, well, my father was one of them. And he was a farm boy from Alabama, son of immigrants, went off to war, and it turned out that my father and his buddies, a small group, really saved the lives of the Archduke Ferdinand's son and the Duke of Luxembourg's grandparents, and all these people who were there, not to mention thousands upon thousands of others. The reason I mention this is because my father wasn't famous. He kind of is now because I wrote a book about it. But he wasn't famous. He didn't feel like he was humble. He didn't feel like he was doing something great. And what I have found, and what I just want to tie this in with what Dr. Sanford said, is that the people that I've met in my life, and we're buddies from Notre Dame, is that the people who seem to do the greatest things are oftentimes the most humble, and are oftentimes going about their task, and they're paying attention to who they're with, and the people they surround themselves with, and how they can help other people. This is something that is a hallmark of this young lady here.